Hi everyone, today I want to talk about some quite interesting build I've played on the PTR using the reworked Marauder set, and that is Marauder Impale. So you might have seen this buff to the Shadow set that lifted it up by approximately around 5 tiers, and some other small tweaks I have done with the chemical burn rune in particular. Essentially for Shadow's Mantle Impale you are doing around twice the damage now for a single target, or you can choose to go with an AoE version of the rune and play it more like ranged instead of this typical endless walk, face tank, everything kind of playstyle. And you can use the cold rune and deal damage to other targets beyond the first. So it seems like those versions are pretty close to one another, but if you want to kind of make the strongest Impale build possible, funny enough, that actually seems to be the new Marauder set. And that's exactly what I've done here. So I haven't really done too many runs of this, but just the 1 or 2 attempts that I was like messing around with my rather unoptimized setup, definitely felt like this will very slightly beat the Shadow's Mantle Impale at the very least. The Marauder set buffs a lot of different skills, including Impale and also even Elemental Arrow and Chakram, some builds that basically don't exist at all. But I kind of had this idea to try out the new Marauder with Impale and just see if it's actually stronger than, well, the actual Impale set. And it seems like it is. So I went in there, I replaced the typical cluster arrow and multishot items and took the Kali's point, the holy point shot in the cube. There's a little downside there, the holy point shot doesn't actually produce extra knives for your sentries, but they do get the 100% extra bonus, so you still deal more damage by having it in a cube. You could theoretically replace that because it's not really that big of a deal if you take something like a Dawn, for example. But I went with the Holy Point Shot version and it's probably a bit better this way. There's not really that many choices you can make here to change the setup or something, like on the Shadow's Mantle set where now you can play the Cold or the Fire rune. Theoretically, I guess you could play the Fire or even the Grievous Wounds physical rune here to actually get a lot more single target damage out of it, but I don't think this would beat the overpenetration playstyle. So I just went with that. I essentially tried to position my sentries somewhere in the corner and they will essentially throw knives and destroy enemies. So it was kind of interesting. I played this without a Bane of the Stricken even, because I figured that the single target damage is probably quite high due to the very small AoE and the fact that they probably miss a lot in the Rift and stuff like that, kind of making it not really a big AoE powerhouse of a build, and it definitely turned out to be exactly that. So the boss also melted rather fast. I was clearing this GR 140 here with no big trouble. It is definitely much weaker than the Multishot and the cluster arrow builds, but not by too much. It's maybe something like 8 tiers or so, I would say, maybe 10. So not the worst. Marauder Multishot and Marauder cluster arrow are definitely the top builds now for Demon Hunters. But if you feel like doing something else with the Marauder set especially, and you like Impale with the sentries, then you can do that. Personally, I really like the versatility of the Marauder set, and I really hope that they might take this as kind of the baseline for some updates to maybe Elemental Arrow and Chakram as well in the future. Impale has its own set, has its own build, so this is totally fine that this is not really on the same level, but the other two builds especially don't really have anything. And it would be great to see some love for them in the future patches as well. But this is the setup that I wanted to share here, just as a little proof of concept. I had a bit of fun with that, but realistically I'm not really gonna touch it that much anymore. I will be playing the new Shadows rather and try out those ranged playstyles, see how that feels. So that was actually quite fun on the PTR, especially in solo farming as well. Shadows is looking very good now. And similarly, the new Marauder is a lot of fun and it is super strong for the upcoming season. So hope you enjoyed my little video here, and I'll see you guys next time.